Daryl Solgen of Ascension Wine Estate, as we're now called, over there at Matakana. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Wayne. Nice to see you.
Got lots to talk about in a short space of time. And the whole name of Solgen conjures up winemaking from a long time ago, and you are a winemaking family from way back, generations. Tell us about where that started.
Very lucky. I'm the fifth generation of my family to grow grapes and make wine for a living. Goes back to my great-great-grandfather in former Yugoslavia. Then my great-grandparents immigrated to New Zealand early last century. My grandfather established a vineyard and an orchard in Lincoln Road in Henderson, which was then taken over by my father Rex and my uncle Tony. And then finally myself and my wife Bridget and I had decided we wanted to do our own thing a little while ago, and that's what led us to Matakana. Yeah,
successfully though. Let's you've been a success at it, and I think the thing is about Matakana, in comparison with something like a well-known area like Marlborough and so on, it really has burgeoned and grown incredibly. Not only on your vineyard, but lots of vineyards springing up all over the place. Why is it so conducive to top a wine, winemaking and wine growing?
Well, the fantastic thing about wine is that it's a product of the place that it's grown. So you can plant the same grapevine in Matakana, take cuttings of it, and plant it all different regions around the world. It's going to taste quite different. And the advantages that Matakana has is very high iron, relatively high iron content in the soil, which is why when you drive around Matakana and you look at the cuttings, they're all nice pink, reddy colours from the iron content. The good vineyards up here are all on hillsides, so that helps with the aspect with the sun to maximise ripening.
That seems to be quite a common factor, doesn't it? The slopes and so on. Drains any water away really well. And then you've got the coastal maritime influence as well, which is when you look at some of the really top vineyard regions of the world, there's always that maritime influence, the nice warm days and the cool evenings. I was going to say, because climate is important too, isn't it? I mean,
it is. I mean, that's what I love about wine. It's a product of place and it's a product of time. You can't dial up a new brew every week like you can with Lion Red or rum or whatever. You get one chance a year. Throughout the life of winemaking, no year will ever be the same.
Consistent, yeah. So, but having said that, it would be very easy to become complacent, wouldn't it? And turn out, as you say, the same product all the time. But I know people like yourself are always looking to do something different and create something different. That's part of what you do? Yeah,
I mean, at Ascension, that's our tagline. We're daring to be different. We try different things with different varieties. Our whole business, we try different things. And every year you learn a little bit more about your vineyard, a bit more about your winemaking, and you can refine things next year. You might increase things by 0.5% next year in terms of your knowledge, but that incremental knowledge over 40, 50 years of winemaking can amount to a big difference.
Good point too, because I think there's a blend between, or a balance if you like, between the heritage that you've brought with you and also the scientific days that we live in and electronic days that we live in. Are you forced to, or are you embracing that as a balance?
Yeah, it's been really interesting. Like a lot of young blokes, you start off, you tend to think you know pretty much everything. And I know that when we planted our vineyard, I was going to revolutionise the way that man grows grapevines. And I remember Dad said to me, why don't you start by doing it the way we've done it for the last couple of 100 years, because it's worked pretty good. And it never occurred to me the old man might know something about growing vines, but it turns out he did. And I really learned to appreciate why tradition stands a test of time, why things that have been done for centuries, and wine's been around since the start of civilization, why some of those things still work in practice.
And always will, won't
it? And it's actually interesting watching a lot of the super modern wineries going back to doing a lot of things the old ways, fermenting in wood, using wild yeast ferments. Really interesting. And I think probably the main difference is that these days, as a modern winemaker, I understand the science behind it, and that way you can control things a lot more. And that's probably the big difference. Before they used to know that if you did this, this would happen. Now we understand the bits in between.
Yeah, and there's flexibility there in this modern age too. Speaking of the fact that Daryl Solgen and his family and his wife have an entrepreneurial flair. You've not just make quality wines at Ascension, you've now got a full sort of conference centre called the Belfry. We'll give that a bit of a plug. But also the fact that you've made a point of creating an entertainment centre. You've had all sorts of concerts and the David Longies, as it were, with McCormick.
Yeah, the Irish Rovers.
The Irish Rovers, BG imitations and the like. Why did you do that?
Well, our whole business is built around building a wine experience. Now, wine's central to everything that we do, and wine's an important part of my life. But I recognise that in most people's lives, wine isn't quite as important. So my mission in life is to make wine maybe not a feature, but certainly a part of everybody's lives. And when you look through the centuries, winemakers have been patrons of the arts, both performing and other types of art. Wine's always been part of a food experience in Europe.
Because food's a big part of it as well.
Yeah, exactly. So our whole business is based around the mission of trying to make wine a happy part of somebody's life and somebody's day every now and again. And that's why we do entertainment. That's why we have put a lot of effort into our food, because we want people to experience Ascension wine as part of an overall experience, and that's something we work really hard.
But again, I've got to say, you've been successful at it, and we've got people that come from all over the world and get onto the tourist track and so on, and they aim for Ascension very often. But people coming up from Auckland, from the Big Smoke, want to do something different on a weekend. You've catered for them, you've thought it out, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, we did think about it a lot. We thought about it from the point of view as a customer. I'm a customer in all sorts of different things every day. So really, I've got no university degree, I've had no formal training. We just thought like a customer, and we surrounded ourselves with really good people. I've got fantastic people that work with us at Ascension, and that's what makes all the difference. They have to live with my ideas and put them into practice.
Just finally, again, in the time we've got left, where do you want to see it go from here on? And you won't take your hand off the winemaking and that part of it. That's obviously still important, but you're still keen to grow things as a business and grow things as an entertainment package, if you like, with your restaurant and so on.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of size, I've really got no plans to get any bigger. Bridget and I had always wanted to keep things small and in control. We've had requests from the United States recently to export there, and that's something we may look at. But no, we don't want to just keep getting bigger for bigger's sake. We'd just rather make the experience better for all our customers, for our guests, and for our staff. And so we're really focused now. We're at a certain size and a certain critical mass, and just making that better.
And keeping it personal at the same time.
And keeping it personal, yeah.
Daryl Solgen, thanks for joining us on
You're
Accent.
welcome.